Get up, little lady.
Greyhound racing. Once the UK's second most attended sport. And whilst bookmakers make millions in profits, those in the sport want to see more of the money.
It's something that's a bone of contention for everyone that works in the industry just now.
So, do bookmakers adequately fund greyhound racing?
The money must be going somewhere, and clearly it's not going into the sport.
My name's Jim Reynolds, I'm a professional greyhound trainer contracted to supply greyhounds to Crayford Greyhound Stadium in Kent. We trial Monday, race Tuesday, race Wednesday, race Thursday, race Friday, race Saturday morning and race Saturday night, and then we have the owners coming down the kennels on a Sunday. So we are as busy as we've ever been. The greyhound racing, as it stands as a business, is a growth business, and the supply to the betting shops and to the internet betting across the world is huge.
So if betting on greyhounds is so popular, why aren't the people in the sport seeing the benefits? Especially when compared to the glamour of horse racing.
She loved that. Hey, little lady.
I'm going to place a bet on both sports to see where the problem lies. We've got the 11:46 at Romford, where we're going to be backing Miss Wendy. That's the greyhounds. And then at 12:35 at Ascot, we've got Twilight Twist for the horses. And what we're going to be showing is the difference between the greyhounds and the horses in where the money is actually going. All right.
Let's put away they go. They're all for Arn Racing, Avengate. The two in second, a break back to Cozy Boy in third, there's 1-6 and
No.
5. Turning Palmer's Avengate, Kelly leads here and 2 goes on and wins 4 seconds.
Go, the tapes are back and they're off. Twilight Twist is struggling, he's been...
This horse is rubbish.
And likewise, a disappointment, Twilight Twist.
Of the bet that I've just lost, 10% of the profits will actually go to the sport of horse racing. Regardless of whether I win or lose my bet on the greyhounds, the bookmakers will contribute 0.6% of greyhound betting turnover to the sport. I happen to lose my bet on the dogs, but it wouldn't have mattered whether I won or lost. The biggest difference though is that the bookmakers' contribution to greyhound racing is voluntary. Betting companies can choose not to pay it. However, the contribution to horse racing, that is statutory. It's protected by government law and has been since 1963. But which sport is better off by their arrangement? Our research shows if greyhound racing was to get a 10% statutory levy on profits like horse racing has, the contributions received by the sport would be worth, on average, 48% more each year. That would be an extra £4.2 million. So why does greyhound racing have an inferior voluntary levy? Lord Lipsey, a Labour peer, was a former chairman of greyhound racing's regulatory body, the British Greyhound Racing Board, now called the Greyhound Board of Great Britain.
The origins of this distinction, and I agree that on the face of things it's pretty peculiar. The levy was a compensation to the racecourses for racing for the business they would lose due to the coming of the betting shops.
So, David, why has this imbalance never been addressed?
Being a socialist myself, I have my suspicions as to the relative power of horse racing, run nowadays by rich sheikhs and their acolytes, and greyhound racing, which has never had that sort of political punch.
The Greyhound Board of Great Britain, the sport's governing body, wants bookmakers' voluntary contributions to be replaced by a statutory levy. In 2020, they told the Department of Culture, Media and Sport that our ability to meet our existing welfare ambitions and targets relies on securing long-term sufficient and sustained funding from the bookmaking community. We would call on the government's support to back a statutory levy for greyhound racing in the same way as horse racing. This view is echoed by greyhound trainers who see what the day-to-day impact of an increase in funds to greyhound racing would be.
if the levy was to be put up to 10%, if it was to level up with the horses, and it was made to be mandatory and not voluntary, I would then be able to go and invest in the business and finish off projects that, under current circumstances, that we can't do.
So, will Parliament review the current contributions and introduce a statutory levy for greyhound racing?
Well, I can tell you as a parliamentarian, it is not going to happen. There is no desire for it to happen among ministers. There is no possibility of getting legislative time for the necessary change to bring it in. Once you extend the compulsory levy beyond horse racing to greyhound racing, where does it stop?
The bookmakers are very, very powerful in government. They pay a lot of money into the economy, so they have a lot of say as to what does go and what doesn't go. But £1 spent on a horse bet and £1 spent on a greyhound bet is the same and should be treated the same.
Quite lovely, isn't it?